Hi there, welcome to Real Life in Real Estate. I'm Mark Peebles, and I want to help you live your best life and achieve ultimate success. And I think we've got some great content for you today. Notice I don't have any guests on today. In fact, I've got a few weeks where we don't have guests on, and that's because I'm doing some traveling. I'm actually out in Colorado and Wyoming and South Dakota. I'm going to a conference, but then I'm also teaching 7 times in 10 days. So while I'm gone, I did a lot of solo content to get ready for it. It's going to be great, though, because I'm teaching a lot of principles that I think are very important for us as agents right now in the marketplace. Before I get into today, I want to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You will find that at It's Mark Peebles, at It's Mark Peebles. And so put that in YouTube and subscribe to it. And also then wherever you get your podcasts, follow the Real Life in Real Estate podcast on there. And we would just love and appreciate that. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay, let's talk today about the pre-client customer service experience. I want to help you with some things that you can do to provide great service to a potential client, to a prospect, before they are a client. All right, so we're going to get into this today. I've got several items that I want to share with you, things that you can do to help help them become clients and create an experience, a service that creates an experience for those prospects so that they do become clients for life. So the first thing I want to talk about is something that I feel is underrated today, right? A lot of people get into real estate and then they're just worried about finding clients, but they never take the time to become a market expert. And let's face it, there are a lot of agents out there that have no idea what's really going on in the market. In fact, we've talked about this statistic so many times that in 2024, 70% of all agents, of all realtors across the country did 0 transactions. And when you have agents that aren't doing transactions, they're usually not studying the market. They're not doing the things to build relationships with people. Therefore, they're not doing any business. So there are a lot of agents out there that just don't know what's going on in the market. You need to become a market expert. You owe that to your clients to be a market expert. So first thing, number one, you want to provide great service, become a market expert. Well, Mark, how do I do that? Oh, good. I thought you would ask. You need to study the market. Here's one thing that I always recommend. Read real estate news to learn what your potential clients, what your past clients, what is the real estate news that they are absorbing? And then you need to understand if that real estate news is tied to California or New York or Austin, Texas, or the coast of Florida, but you're located in Nebraska or Wyoming or Ohio, where I am, you need to understand if those stats, that data translates into your market. And oftentimes it doesn't. One of the things that I love, and I talk about this all the time, and I always state, no, they are not a sponsor of the show, but Keeping Current Matters, one of my favorite places to go for data. Look at this. I've got an eye itch here. It's driving me crazy. I can't go on. So we're a little red. Yeah, we're going to cut this out. So Keeping Current Matters, one of my favorite places to go for data. Every month they release a monthly market report, and a lot of times in the data that they put out, they will show you what's going on in different parts of the country. What is going on the West Coast versus East Coast versus the South versus the Midwest. And you'll find that markets are very different. Even across the Midwest, we have a lot of hot markets. Like Columbus, Ohio is very different from Dayton, Ohio. And so you need to understand how things are moving in your market versus other markets, and then be able to relate that to, that article that you're reading there, while it is accurate for the markets that they talk about, that is not what we are seeing in our market. So read real estate news. One of my sources for that There's a site called Weekly Real Estate News. You can subscribe. They will send you once or twice a day the headlines that are coming out, and you can pull up articles, boom, 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 and read a few articles, right? I also like Inman. Now, Inman has a couple of different things that are of value to me. One, there's a whole brokers a section of Inman, and I like to get a lot of what's going on brokerage-wise across the country. The other thing with Inman, though, is they cover a lot of the big national stories that are happening in real estate from the insider real estate perspective. And then another cool thing about it is they put out a lot of content like this and how to be a better agent and, 7 things to go through in your listing appointment. They do put out good content. Now, that one you have to pay for. That one is not necessarily free, as is Keeping Current Matters. But here's the bottom line. You owe it to your prospects and future clients to be a market expert. They are counting on you. When I started my career right out of college with Pfizer, I spent months, and by months, I think it was about 5 months that I was in training. It was probably about 2.5 to 3 months of training before I ever stood in front of the first doctor that, I pulled out my detail book and talked about a drug. It was 2.5 or 3 months before I got to that point, studying the products that I was carrying, understanding the science of those products. And today in real estate, because you're self-employed, there is no structured training program. And hopefully, maybe your company has one. We have Ultimate Success Framework. It's a structured training program we're about to release. But the thing is, you still have to go and learn. And that's the problem today. You don't have anyone telling you, no, you have to show up at this time. You have to be in this class. You have to do this. We're independent contractors. If you're truly going to be a great agent, rise above the rest, and provide great service, you need to be a market expert, which means you need the discipline to study and understand the market. Okay, so number 1, be a market expert. Number 2, I think this one's very important. Learn to read the market and do client home value reports. Client home value reports is a great way to provide value to someone who is not a client yet. And so if you meet someone, they're new to your sphere of influence, you want to build relationship and connection with them, say, hey, listen, could I do a client home value report for you? I'm going to spend 15 minutes, I'm going to, or less, and I'm going to run a report on your house, and I just want to share the data with you so you have an idea of the value of your current real estate portfolio. And I'll do your house and any other properties that you own, and we can go through that in 10 to 15 minutes. I'm available this Tuesday at 5:30 or Thursday at 6:15. Would you and your wife have some time to go through that? And we'll do it by Zoom. We'll do it by Google Meet, right? So we make it easy, but you want to rise to the top with someone who is not a client yet, who has not bought real estate from you. Learn to do client home value reports, and then be regular with that. At least once a year. Maybe you do it twice a year. Every 6 months, you're doing a client home value report for them, especially if the market's moving up or down quite a bit. All right. So number 2, client home value reports. Number 3, I want you to set clear expectations. We need to learn to set clear expectations for potential buyers, potential sellers, really potential clients. How am I going to communicate with them? And this is how I'm going to communicate with you. This is when I'm going to communicate with you. This is what to expect when we are at showings. If you're talking to a buyer, you're setting expectations. For a seller, this is how the showing service is going to work. This is how I try to obtain feedback for you from other agents. You are setting clear expectations up front. I had a coach several years ago as I was really overwhelmed, had a ton of business going, was next to being, almost to a mental breakdown, a nervous breakdown because of everything I had going. And she said, Mark, you need a communication plan that you present to your clients up front that sets a clear expectation that I'm available from these hours to this hours. This is how I would communicate with you, or what's your preference of communication? I will communicate with you in this way. And then that client actually signs it. When they signed that, they knew that I had a clear expectation for how communication was going to be happening. All right. So number 3 is you need to set clear expectations. Number 4, you need a professional buyer presentation and a professional listing presentation. We have gotten into a market where listings are not selling as fast. And let me tell you, when things slow down with listings and they're hanging out in the market a little bit longer, and people know this and they have an understanding of it and they realize this, they start looking for the agent that can sell their house the fastest and for the most money. In order to convince them of that, you need a professional listing presentation. And then I would say likewise on the buyer side, especially in the new competitive environment to gain buyers, you need a professional buyer presentation. I'll tell you this story. Years ago, probably back around 2013, so we're talking maybe 12 years ago, it's 2013, 14, 15, sometime in that time frame, I received a lead, went out on it. Now, I used to be Dave Ramsey Endorsed Local Provider, and as an ELP back then, 3 agents would go out on it. And so I went out, competed for it. I actually told him sitting there, hey, I have a client that will buy this house now. I believe it's perfect for them. They want to stay in this neighborhood. They need to upsize, and this house is perfect for them. And I'll tell you what, if you'll let me bring them through, I'll bring them through. If they want to buy, great. If not, then we'll talk about getting it on the market and getting it sold for you. One of the things I like to do is get out ahead of problems that come up for my clients when they move into their homes, because something is always going to go wrong. The water heater is going to stop working. Their furnace is going to go out. They're going to have a plumbing leak that they're going to be calling me needing help on. I love to be able to tell them, hey, we got you an Advantage home warranty as part of your deal. That's amazing, because now you can make one call or go online and file a claim with Advantage Home Warranty, and they're going to take care of the rest. They'll send a technician out to make the repair, or they'll put money towards a replacement if it gets to that point. So it takes off so much stress for me, for my clients, to know that I've got Advantage Home Warranty in my corner, and I carry one in my own home. I think you should too, and you should recommend it for your clients. So check out Advantage Home Warranty at AdvantageHW.com. That's AdvantageHW.com. Craziest thing happened. Hadn't that client, I did end up doing that. I sold it to one of my other clients. He moved out of state, the seller, and moved to Michigan. Recently, I walked into church, and he walks over to me and goes, "Do you remember me?" And I was like looking at him like deer in headlights. This has been 10 years ago, right? And I was like, and he goes, Brian Holbrook, you sold my house on Candlewick years and years ago. I was like, no way. I remember that. And then it all came back to me. Dave and Sarah bought that house, and we went through this and this, all of that came back to me. So we're talking, we've actually, we've been going to the same church and having more conversations. And in those conversations, he said, I want to tell you why I hired you. He said, you came in, you had a professional presentation, you walked through your presentation, you told me exactly what you're going to do, i.e. I set some expectations for it. And he said, you're the only one that I felt like this guy knows how to sell a home and is professional about it. And it's because as I was talking to him, I was also showing him what I was going to do. And so a professional presentation goes a long way. Same with buyers. I had one of our agents recently. I teach a buyer class, and one of the agents that went through my class texted me recently. He said, Mark, I just want to thank you for your buyer presentation. Since I've started using this, I have won every single buyer that I've met with and gotten them to sign on the spot, with a buyer agency agreement. But I think the professional presentation goes so far. All right, so that was number 4. Number 5, get comfortable with talking about compensation. With all of the changes we've been through in the industry, you need a level of professionalism. Now we're talking customer service. Let me tell you something. If you can get comfortable with talking about compensation, you are doing a great service to your potential buyers, to your sellers. You need to understand your value, but you also need to show them that, hey, I'm going to serve you in this way, and this is the value I'm going to provide to you with the service I provide, and this is how I get compensated for it. We need to be comfortable having those conversations, especially since last year, when all the changes went into effect, I have met with so many buyers that I will go through how I'm compensated with them, and they're like, no one's ever explained this to me before. I'm talking about people that have bought houses before. No one's ever explained this to me before. I'm like, yeah, well, I want to provide this service to you, and I want you to understand what you're getting for the service that, or, for the fee that you're paying me, that this is the service that I'm going to be providing to you. So very important, get comfortable talking about compensation. Number 6, be the person that your clients and pre-clients call for every last thing. When I go into a listing appointment, I might get accused of giving away too much because I'll open up my book and I will make referrals before they've signed on the dotted line. Now, I know agents who are like, well, they're not getting my contacts unless they're my client. Okay, that's fine. The way that I've always practiced real estate is I'm going to open-handed philosophy. I'm going to have my hands open. I'm going to share with you the knowledge that I have. I'm going to share with you, the contacts that I have, and I'm going to help walk you through the process of getting the house ready to list, and then we're going to list the house and get it sold. Rarely ever using that philosophy and becoming the person that they call for every last thing. Rarely ever have I lost a listing when we get into that point because I'm building relationship with them the whole time. I'm building trust with them. They're meeting my contractors going, wow, these people are great. You are giving, but in the end, you will receive. And so just be the one that they go to for every last thing. I tell past clients, hey, listen, you're stuck with me forever. If you ever need a referral for anything, including a great place to take your wife out on a date or a great museum to go to on the weekends, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And let me tell you, I get those calls quite regularly. So just be the contact that they go to for every last thing. Number 7, in providing great service before they're a client, show social proof. Have testimonials, right? Show them how you've served other people and been able to satisfy and exceed expectations with other people. So social proof, very important. Get testimonials, get Google reviews, get videos from people talking about your service. I've got some agents, friends of mine out in Rapid City, South Dakota, and they talk all the time about the videos they do. I see their videos on social media where they sit after a closing and say, hey, will you do a quick video testimonial for us? It's great. And they actually have told me stories where they've almost come to tears because someone tells their story and they're like, wow, I didn't realize I had that kind of impact on their life and on this process for them. So those are very powerful to use as social proof. Also then, another thing when it comes to social proof, not just social proof of how great you are, but social proof of the things that you're educating people on. So find white papers or articles that speak to something you just talked about. If you tell them, hey, listen, now is the time to buy an investment property in this area, pull out an article, or maybe you write a white paper on why and make the case for it that you can then hand them that looks very professional and kind of gives that ooh-ah and helps educate them on the process. 1, it's about being a market expert. We go all the way back to number 1. But then 2, it's about a social proof where you're handing them something that is valuable, provides information, and then it also makes them feel like, wow, this is really great service. No one's ever handed me anything like this or texted me an article or whatever the case is. So just build your library of all kinds of social proof, all right? Last thing, number 8, be a consultant, not a salesperson. Now listen, I think sales skills are very important. You need to be a good salesperson, right? And I don't think sales is not about making someone do something that they don't want to do. It's helping them make good decisions. I say my tagline is that I help people make good real estate decisions. You want to help people make good real estate decisions, and you need to be able to sell a little bit to do that, because sometimes someone's not comfortable with the decision, but you know in your heart of hearts it's the right decision. I've had this so many times in my career where someone is like on the edge, they're on the fence, they're afraid to pull the trigger, and I have to help sell them on pulling the trigger And when I do, they call me 3 years later and say, we are so thankful you helped us buy this house. We love it here, right? Because I knew it was right for them. So that's the whole sales side of things. However, when you go on an initial appointment, don't go in guns a-blazing, I'm a salesman, right? Go in as a consultant. You are there to see how you can help them, to consult with them, to give them advice. You don't have to sell them yet. And I believe as you are more of a consultant initially than a salesperson, and there are some sales tactics while you're a consultant, getting them to sign paperwork. There are some sales tactics used in there, but if your mindset is I'm here just to see how I can help. Who can I refer to you? How can I make this process easier for you? How can I make this process better for you? I am here to consult and get you moving in the right direction, help you make some good decisions. That is why I'm here. If you go in with a consultant mindset as opposed to a salesperson mindset, what happens with salespeople, if that's you go in guns a-blazing to sell, people lock up. They don't want to share as much with you. They feel like they're being sold, and people hate the feeling of being sold, right? And you don't have the relationship with them to put on a hard sell. I have been in hard sell situations so many times in my life. I hate them. I really hate them. One time I was in a timeshare presentation that I think about the 8th person that came over and tried to hard close me, someone that understands and knows and understands sales. I said to him, listen, I appreciate what you're doing here, but if you don't get us out of here with what was promised, since we are over time, I'm going to go stand in the middle of this room and I'm going to tell everybody, there were like 100 people in the room, I'm going to tell everybody what a scam this is. They were like, Mr. Peebles, I don't feel like that's really who you are. Like, they did a good job de-escalating. But the thing is, I hated that feeling of someone trying to sell me. Consult with me. Is it right for me? Great. Then as a consultant, you're going to say, I think this is right for you and I know that I can help you. But the whole sales thing is, regardless of whether it's right for the customer, you are trying to hard close them. I hate that. It drives me crazy. So stop being a salesperson, especially on these early meetings with buyers and sellers. Be a consultant. I believe if you do that with a bit of salesmanship mixed in, I believe you'll close a lot more business. So to do a quick review, you need to be a market expert, number one. Number two, do client home value reports and share with people, what the value of their real estate portfolio is. Number three, set clear expectations. Have a professional buyer and listing presentation. Number five, get comfortable talking compensation. Then number six, be the person that they call for every last thing. Become a referral machine, baby. Number seven, be willing to show social proofs and articles and white papers, video testimonials, just testimonials in general, your reviews online. And then number eight, be a consultant, not a salesperson. This is how we serve people that are not currently clients, that we want to become clients. I think there's some crossover after they've been clients, but we're going to talk some more customer service in the next episode. But for today, chew on this. Be a great service provider, and I believe you're going to win more. I'll see you next week.